Hello, friends! You all like video games, don't you? I like video games too. I don't have the time to play them anymore, nor are there really any good video games coming out most of the time anymore either. But once in a far-flung time, a long, long time ago, I used to really enjoy playing video games because I used to be able to play them. But one of the things that stops me from really being as sad about not being able to play them very much anymore is the fact that most games that come out these days, certainly AAA or the newly minted in the past 6 or 7 years AA studio games that come out are rubbish and not worth your time, attention, or money. That's the most important thing here, which is that you should not spend your money on these games. So just the other day, I was talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which I was heavily critical of due to potential historical inaccuracies and relying too much on woke historians. And despite that, I still said at the end of it that it's probably going to be a much higher quality game than most that come out this year, and also is probably going to still be more respectful to history than most games that come out that deal with history at all. Probably also less woke, but still, the disappointment with Kingdom Come was the fact that when the first game came out in 2018, is that we were gifted this game that seemed to buck the woke trend. Now let's talk about another studio that's gone very, very downhill over the past 15 years, which is Obsidian, legendary developers of games like Knights of the Republic 2, Alpha Protocol, and most famously for me, they made Fallout New Vegas, which is one of the only games of theirs that I've actually given any time to. It was one of the jankiest, buggiest games I've ever played. I had a PlayStation 3 copy, got to near the end of the game, and managed to hardlock myself into an area because I had been manual saving the whole time and did not have a manual save outside of an area that every time I tried to leave went to a black screen and didn't load the environment. So that was fun. I was about maybe, I don't know how long the game was, but I'd imagine maybe 40 hours into it, and yeah, completely lost. But it was a great game outside of the bugginess. The characters were engaging, the story was engaging, the amount of choices that you could make was really fantastic, especially in comparison to Fallout 3, which was enjoyable but was very, very railroaded and very binary in the kinds of decisions that you could make. You could be the super evil bad man or boring, bland, good man with very, very little moral ambiguity in between those two extremes. After that, I have also played South Park The Stick of Truth that was done by Obsidian, and when it came out in 2019, I think it was, I played The Outer Worlds, and that was because of the fact I was excited because I'd heard that, oh my god, the guys behind Fallout New Vegas are making a Fallout-style action first-person RPG that's going to be very similar to the style that they were making under Bethesda, but without any of the restrictions. It's going to be done on a AA budget, and it's going to be great. And I played the first hour of it and put it down and never picked it back up because, frankly, it was really boring. It was really boring. But now we have another exciting new game by them with no controversy around it at all, which is this game that I'd never heard of called Avowed from Obsidian Entertainment, still riding off of their reputation as that game company that made really great games 15 years ago. And it's a fantasy RPG in the universe of the Pillars of Eternity franchise. Never played those. And you hear Obsidian Entertainment, you think, wow, this is going to be really exciting. First-person action RPG, hopefully plenty of choices. I might give this a go, except the controversy immediately ramps up. Sadly, I looked into it. Of the 4 main designers of New Vegas, only one of them still works in the company in any creative capacity, which could go some way to explaining the dip in quality that the games have experienced since then. But of course, it has to be infected with wokeness, because of course it does. Grums, some people don't like his account, but whatever, has been cataloguing a lot of the stuff that's been going on with Avowed, and it's best to just refer to the screenshots here. So this gentleman, Matt Hansart, or Matt Hansen, whatever his name is the art director at Obsidian Entertainment and has his pronouns in his bio. So when you've got people like that in charge of these games, you can immediately tell what they're going to be like. He had posted a while back saying, reminder to black artists out there who are looking for portfolio reviews or job advice, my DMs are open and you will always have my priority. We got too many crusty white dudes in this field. Please let me help you. Replace me one day. I want to go back to living in the woods. Okay, so that's an outright admission of bias in potential hiring practices and the way that he's treating different people in the field, trying to put privileges for black applicants and black artists over artists of different races, particularly white people. This is just outright prejudice. Absolutely fine. That's exactly who you want in charge of some of these kinds of games. Apparently, Elon Musk picked this up and said that this might be pointing towards illegal hiring practices with Microsoft, because I believe Obsidian are now being employed by Microsoft gaming studios to produce these games. He's also outright said that the game is woke and that he is proud of that. So this is going to be one of those games where you hear, this game is woke. If you don't like that, don't buy the game. People don't buy the game. Wow, why is Obsidian closed down 5 months from now? Because it's coming out in a few days. I think it's coming out next week, in fact. And one of the things that you can always expect from woke games, especially when it's an art designer in charge of this stuff, is that they will be utterly hideous, because woke, anti-whiteness, progressivism is anti-civilizational. One of the hallmarks of great civilizations is beauty, and given that they are anti those things, they have to be anti-beauty. So the goal is to make characters as freakish and disgusting as possible, which is different, I have to say straight away, than designing, as we all do, in character creations and RPGs, utter monstrosities, because it's funny to go about a game that's trying to present itself seriously as one of the most deformed freaks imaginable that makes the Elephant Man look like a Calvin Klein model. So that's a different thing than the developers intentionally making everything disgusting and horrible and ugly, as they like to do these days. And we can get some examples of these kinds of things. Oh wait, here's another one where it's the art director again, this Matt Hansen, on his Blue Sky. He's got Blue Sky, no surprise there. Calling video gamers sickos, because gamers are just bad people. You can't be a gamer, especially if you are designing video games, because that would make too much sense, I suppose. Yeah, here's some of the characters that you've got in Avowed, NPCs. So this is Leprosy Shrek, Leprosy Zoomer Shrek, I assume. This I don't know. Man, woman, dwarf, goblin, scouser. I don't know. But this is very, very similar to what happened with, they used to work for Bethesda when they did Fallout New Vegas. It's very similar to what we saw with the NPCs in Starfield, if you remember going back to when that game came out, where the entirety of spacefaring population of Earth seemed to be made up entirely of black, deformed, super mutant freaks. Very strange. It was very diverse with barely any white people, and of the NPCs that you could encounter in the streets in the planets that were in that game, they were all freakish. They looked like they'd been auto-generated in an attempt to try and create super mutants like you would see in the Fallout series, but also make them human at the same time. Big, brutish, broad-shouldered, barrel-chested women, with very strong masculine features. Very strange, off-putting, depressing to look at, because again, these people are anti-civilizational. If civilization being good means that things are beautiful, makes people happy, well, everything has to be ugly. Just look at the art style of this. Hideous, appalling. Not just the character designs themselves, these clothes that they're wearing. You do not want to design, you don't want to look at this and go, I want to be there. Like, for me, part of the allure of a fantasy world is of two extremes. One, you get the beautiful high fantasy, say like Tolkien, where it's a world that, outside of the conflicts that propel the story forward, it's a place that you would like to live. Or, on the other end, the low fantasy and the dystopian, where it's fascinating and provides parallels to our own world that make for interesting analogies and analogues to what we experience today. Those are the two interesting things, because of course, art doesn't need to always explore the beautiful and the divine. It can also look into the negative emotions and be an expression of that. This is none of those things. This is just purposeful ugliness, brute ugliness, just for the sake of it. Like I was saying as well, just weird, barrel-chested, very broad, disfigured freaks. It's very off-putting to look at. And people weren't very happy about this, so apparently they have nuked the entire Steam forum and community hub for Avowed, because I imagine that the responses weren't very positive in there. So, you know, that's what you always got to do, run away from criticism rather than respond to it, or, God forbid, listen to it. Obsidian at least knows that their games don't work when they first release, so they've already said, yeah, it's coming out on the Xbox, but don't expect it to work. Despite this, IGN still says 7 out of 10, which is how you know that it's a completely middling game that's not worth playing, is that IGN gives it a 7 out of 10. And Rolling Stone, one of their reviewers, says, I reviewed it for Rolling Stone. I honestly think this is Obsidian's best, and finally scratches that Skyrim itch, while cutting out a lot of the fat, and a truly fascinating theme of defying or accepting tyranny, my oh, God. Sorry, let me try that again. And a truly fascinating theme of defying or accepting tyranny. Oh, God, sorry. Yeah, looks sounds boring. Sounds really boring. And again, look at this art style. Awful. Awful. Disgusting. And also, of the independent reviewers, like this gentleman, Luke Stevens, who runs a video game reviewing channel on YouTube, independent reviewers who've looked at it have said, yes, broken mess. Even on PC, loads of bugs, ran really badly, lots of misbehaviors, multiple broken quests that wasted hours of your time. So not only is the game intentionally offensive to all of your senses in a way that makes you not want to play it because of just how hideous it is, also, taken on its own terms as a game, it doesn't work, as you would expect from Obsidian at this point. But at least in the past, the games outside of the jank and the bugs explored interesting themes, had interesting stories, presented unique scenarios and characters for you, and weren't actively trying to make your eyes bleed. This one, not worth playing. Like with all of these kinds of games, don't buy it, don't waste your money on it, do not support these people, support indie devs, indie games that you actually like and that actually produce something of value, because this is completely worthless.